Hello, Namaskar, Vanakkam. My name is Sudhir Sahasranaman and you're watching CBSE with Sudhir. Let's come to the last chapter, which is part of the economics syllabus of your social science class 8 textbook, Exploring Society. This one is called Factors of Production. We will be doing this in two parts. And I have prepared this particular presentation for you, which will make it easier for you to understand what exactly this chapter is all about. Of course, I would also advise you to keep your textbook open before you while you are going through this particular video so that you are able to relate with the pictures that are there in your textbook. Now, do subscribe to CBSE with Sudhir and share these videos. Now, when we are talking about factors of production, you are seeing this particular photograph that I have put of women working in the paddy fields. I don't know whether any one of you has ever gone to a paddy field or any agricultural field and seen how the sowing actually takes place, be it of paddy or any other crop. So, when we are talking about the factors of production, if we are to take the example of a country like India, the largest contribution to the growth, when you talk about growth, you're talking about the economy, the kind of, people earning more money, getting more prosperous, getting more wealthy, producing more kinds of goods, be it textiles, be it any kind of services, be it even a pen that is produced by a pen manufacturer. That will happen only when you are able to use three factors very importantly, and that's why we are calling it the factors of production. What are these three factors? The three factors are land, that is, you need land. If you are to grow crops, you need land. You need labor, you need this kind of human labor to actually do things. And then you need capital. Capital doesn't mean capital city. Capital means paisa, the funds, the money, in order to, for example, if these women are working on the fields, they would be given a salary at the end of the day, or wages, as we studied in class 6. So you need the capital in order to kind of make it a sustainable production exercise. Okay, so these factors, that is land, labor, and capital, just remember it as LLC. LLC is something which you will need to use very efficiently. Every product, remember this, when we are talking about the factors of production or the entire production process, every process, be it your school shoes, be it your belt, okay, be it a ribbon, be it your uniform, clothes, or any furniture that you have at home, or the benches at your school, the phones, computers, laptops, everything goes through a production process. Everything has to be produced, from the raw material that you get to the finished good. So this entire thing is called the production process, where you get a raw material and then you convert it. For example, when you are making a mobile phone, what happens? You need to get a chip, you need to get a battery, you need to get the wiring right, you need to get the covering right, you need to get the glass, you need to ensure that it is connected. If that's a SIM, when it is inserted, it will get connected to the network. So all the technical process has to be gone through. That is all part of the production process. Now, when we have to understand the production process, let's understand. See, I'm going to give you a lot of examples so that it becomes easy. Otherwise, economics can seem very daunting and, let me say, a little dry subject. So the first part is the production process. This involves using resources or input, just like I gave you the example of how do you manufacture a mobile phone, or let's say how do you manufacture a dining table chair which is made of, let's say, teak wood. So you would get the wood from the forest, teak wood, which is allowed to be cut, right? And then it will be kind of, made into smaller pieces. Then it will be sent to a carpenter who will further polish it and make it into such a shape that it can be made into a chair. So the entire process is a production process, and the resources or inputs, for example, for the chair, the resource is wood, right? Another resource will be Fevicol, the adhesive that will be used in order to ensure that it is stuck together. Then you will need nails, right? Then you will need some kind of bush so that, when you are pulling and pushing it, it doesn't create that kind of a grating kind of a sound. So you would need those bush. You would need cotton cushion. So All these are different kinds of resources or inputs. I hope it is clear. If you are asked to explain a resource, you need to explain it by giving this kind of an example. Okay. Now, the second part is the factors of production. Now, these resources like wood, like Fevicol, like the mobile phone inputs, or let's say if I have to make, let's say, a keyboard for a computer, you need all those alphabets, you need the wiring, you need the internal wiring. So all those resources or inputs which are used in producing goods and services are called factors of production. Let me give you an example. I've given you the example of goods. I've given you three examples. Let me give you an example of services. For example, let's say a service like a hotel. So what all do you need? Of course, you need to construct the rooms, etc. That will be the entire construction process. But after that, you need a front desk, you need a couple of receptionists, they need to have telephones, you need to have a housekeeping, you need to have a restaurant, so you need the room service, you need the banquet service, right? You need a chef, you need the entire kitchen to be there. So all these are part of the services. So these are all resources or inputs which go into creating that entire hotel experience. Then the third one is the business combination. Now, what exactly do we mean when we say business combination? Now, all this when you're doing, when you put everything together, you construct a hotel, you employ all these people, you set up a kitchen, you set up a restaurant area, you ensure that the housekeeping staff is trained, everything. So that becomes a hotel business, right? And that kind of combines various inputs or factors of production to create goods or services. When you manufacture a particular mobile phone and you manufacture, let's say, 2000 mobile phones, then you can set up an industry and sell it. That becomes your business. Okay. The fourth part of the production process is to understand the opportunity. This also generates opportunities for people to engage in economic activities. So you realize that, okay, at this point of time, if I kind of set up a mobile phone shop, I can do good business here because there is a lot of demand. Because in that particular area, a lot of youngsters live who would have, they are new in the job, etc. So they would have money to spend. So if I set up a mobile phone shop there, or even a mobile repair shop, which will become a service, a mobile phone shop which sells, it will just become a good selling thing. But when you set up a mobile repair shop, that is when you are providing a service, right? So please understand the distinction. So that will become an economic opportunity for anyone who wants to provide that kind of a service of a mobile repair shop or sell mobile phones, that is selling goods. Now, let's come to the definition of a business. So this is something which you will need to know because it can come as a 1 mark or a 2 mark question with examples. So a firm means a factory, a unit, an industrial unit, etc., or a shop or a factory which produces or sells goods or provides a service. Produces goods means it could be producing cloth, right? Silk cloth or cotton cloth. Selling goods, mobile phones, computers, even things like, let's say, during COVID, everybody was selling sanitizers, right? So selling goods or providing a service, it could be a hotel, it could be a hospital, that is selling a service, or a mobile repair shop. I hope you have understood. So every time you get asked to define something, always ensure, even if it is a sorry, even if it is a 1 mark question, always ensure that you give the definition and further give a couple of examples, because then your teacher will realize that this student has understood it. He has not just completely come and ratified the definition and come and vomited it here. No, he or she has understood it, learned it, and is able to explain it with the help of examples. That is what makes a complete answer. Okay. Now, let's look at the example of Ratna's Post Point Restaurant. Okay, now Ratna runs a small restaurant which is very popular among highway travelers. So it is on the national or the state highway. She started some 5 years ago. Okay, so she's now experienced, and she had to then choose a location that where exactly will I set it up. I'll give you an example. I used to have a camera person called Akram. Unfortunately, he's no more now. His brother, uh, Akram gave him money, his younger brother, to set up a shop. Okay, set up a garment shop. Now, the location that he chose in Bengaluru was very bad because he chose the location of his shop right opposite Kids Camp in Bengaluru, right? So everybody who would come would go directly to Kids Camp where there are a whole lot of shops inside the shopping mall, right? So why would anyone come to this small shop which is located bang opposite the Kids Camp? So in terms of location, Akram realized and his brother also realized that it was a bad idea and the business did not quite take off. So the location, the geographical location becomes extremely important, that you should be in such a position. I just gave you the example of setting up a mobile repair shop in an area which is largely inhabited by young professionals who are earning, who would be owning expensive mobile phones. And when you say expensive mobile phones or any mobile phone for that matter, your mobile phone will develop some problem or the other at some point of time or the other, right? So if I set up a mobile repair shop, I am likely to get good business. So that kind of a market research, when I say market research, means researching the area. What kind of people live here? For example, will you want to set up a restaurant in a place where there are largely senior citizens? Now, when you say senior citizens, they are not likely to be the kind of people who would eat out very regularly. They would prefer home food because they would have medical ailments, etc. So the doctor would say, eat home food, always safer. They would have diabetes, they cannot eat too much of salt, etc. So if you set up a restaurant in an area which is largely inhabited by senior citizens above the age of 65, 70, etc., you are unlikely to do very good business. But if you set up a restaurant in a place which is large, which has a lot of coaching institutions, right? In fact, there is a place near my home. There are a lot of coaching institutions near my place, right? So there is one place which looks very unhygienic to me, but guy does roaring business because his location is right in the middle of so many coaching institutions. So every evening after they fit, and it starts only at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock is when the classes leave. So they all come and the place is full of students. They all come and eat different kinds of stuff there, snacks kind of thing. So what I'm trying to say is that the location is very important. I hope this is clear. The second is organize money for rent, because if you are kind of taking a place on rent, right? You need to pay a monthly rent to that thing. For that, you need money. So that is again something which is very important. Then you need to buy equipment. Even if you are setting up a restaurant, you need the utensils, you need the gas cylinder, right? You need the basic infrastructure in order to be able to cook, the oil, etc., knives, chopping board, etc. Then you need to hire staff for any kind of business. You need to buy the ingredients like oil, salt, vegetables, sugar, whatever, right? And planning of the entire business, what will be the name of the shop, everything, right? Her restaurant is growing with a team of 7 people. So 7 people she has hired. So if you were to get a question saying that you are to set up a restaurant, or let's say not a restaurant, you are to set up, let's take the example of, what shall I say? Kabadi wala? No. Let's say a tailoring shop. A tailoring shop. So you would always a tailoring shop which also takes care of stitching plus also some kind of repair. So you would want to set it up in a very residential kind of area, not a commercial area. Residential area where there are lots of households who would want to give their clothes for stitching to your shop. It could be a sari fall, or it could be a blouse, it could be a skirt, it could be a shirt, it could be trousers, or it could be repairs. Like, shirt buttons get come off. So people don't have the patience to stitch your button. So you give it to the tailor for 20 rupees. He will stitch the 2 buttons and give it to you. So the location and your understanding of the market is very important. I hope I'm explaining it in great detail so that there is no confusion that you should have. Okay. Now let's come to economic activities and inputs in a locality, which has been given on your right-hand side page, blue color diagram in the form of a table, right? So what exactly does it mean? The first one is grocery shop. So just to understand what it will take, if you set up a kirana shop, grocery, where you sell dal, salt, sugar, rice, etc., right? So for example, near my shop, near my house, there is something called a Bhagyanagar rice depot. So I go there and buy 10 kg of rice at one time, right? So good services provided are what? You get food grains, you get bread, you get milk, packaged food, perishable commodities. It could be even vegetables and fruits. And what kind of input is required? You need storage space. For example, during the rain, I find that whatever he has put it in container, sometimes there will be small black color inside. So then I will tell him, no, you open a fresh packet for me and give it from there, right? So you need to be very careful whether that place inside is hygienic. There are not rodents out there. So the storage space is very important in a place like a grocery shop. Let's look at another activity, which is restaurants or food stalls, about which I've explained in great detail. So you need to provide what? Cooked meals, snacks, beverages. It could be juices, it could be colas, whatever, right? Drinking cola is harmful. So please do not get into the habit of drinking all these aerated drinks. Bad for health. Okay. What do you need? You need vegetables, you need fruits, you need gas, you need utensils, you need cooks, you need helper for that. You need to get some kind of waiters who will go and serve the guests, etc. So that is again required. Then what are the other kind of local economic activities? Vegetable vendors, you come, they will be selling green vegetables, you would be having watermelon, fruits like seasonal fruits like oranges, mangoes, etc. So that's again something. Again, what are the inputs required? They need to be able to get it from the farm. You need to have the weighing scales. You need to have the baskets in which people will take the vegetables and the fruits. You need to have a cart or you need to have a stall so that when it rains, all your vegetables and fruits don't get wet. So you need to have these basic arrangements. All that needs funds. You need to invest money for that. Then mobile repair shops, I just now told you about that. So you need mobile repair. You need to have the understanding also that you need, you should be able to have technicians who are able to repair a job. Ye nahi ki, I know only this model. I know only Samsung. I don't know how to repair an iPhone. It should not be like that. Then what are the types of inputs? You need the tools, you need the spare parts. For example, whenever my watch stops working, I go to a watch repair shop where that fellow will have battery. That battery, he will give 6 months warranty. So in case it gets spoiled within 6 months, he will change it for free. Otherwise, he will change it every 6 months, 1 year. You need to go and change it. And if he has to repair, he will also clean it up, etc. inside, because that person knows how the inside of a watch or a clock works. So you need to have the knowledge, you need to have the skills, you need to have proper understanding that this particular model of is good, this is not good, etc. Or when you go to a shop, that particular person should be able to say that, sir, buy this particular clock, this clock runs well, it's good brand. This one is not very good, it will stop working after 1 year. So that knowledge and guidance is also very important. Then salon and parlors, beauty parlors, you go to for a haircut, etc. Again, you need people who should be able to do a haircut. If suddenly you ask me to do a haircut, I will not be able to do a haircut, right? So you need people who are professionally trained and experienced in being able to do that. They should know that, okay, this beauty product is better than this beauty product, etc. Okay. Now, next, let's come to the classification of the factors of production. Now, in economics, the inputs used in an entire production process, which I hope you have understood till now, they're classified into 4 categories. One, of course, is land. Second is labor. Third is capital, that is funds. And the fourth is entrepreneurship. Okay, very interesting. And the next 20, 25, 30 years are going to be the years of the entrepreneur, where you do your own work, you're your own boss, you're not working in a company, you work for yourself, and you are able to provide jobs for 7 people, 10 people, 20 people, 50 people, 100 people, right? So that, of course, comes with a lot of risk because many startups do not succeed. But if you are able to make it well, you can actually do very well for the country's economy, right? So the 4 factors of production are what? The first one, as I said, is land. That is the natural resources. And we have studied that in the first chapter. that you need the physical space. For example, if you are a farmer, you need an area where you will grow those crops. You will grow natural resources like jawar crop, paddy, sugarcane, cotton, whatever, right? So you would do something like that. So for that, land is very important. The second one is labor, where there is human effort required. That human effort also needs to be skilled. Like suddenly, if you ask me to go and handle a mobile repair shop, will I be able to handle the repair of the mobile phone? No, I will not. I know the basics of how a mobile phone works. But if something is wrong with it inside, can I understand how whether this wiring something is wrong or not? I will not be able to. So what is required? You need human skilled labor. That is labor, the technician who is skilled and trained to repair a mobile phone. Then the third one is entrepreneurship. That's the ability to organize and manage other factors of production. That is, an entrepreneur is somebody who will arrange for the funds, he will arrange a space, he will hire the right kind of technicians or labor. Then he will also do the marketing, that you go ahead and tell the people that, see, I'm producing this kind of goods. Are you interested in buying it? And he will be able to sell it. Then he will also do the entire selling process. So an entrepreneur is somebody who does everything, and he puts the money. He also gets the maximum share of whatever profit is earned. Then finally, the capital. Obviously, the capital is required because capital is required in order to buy tools, in order to buy equipment, in order to arrange for all kind of financial resources used in the entire production process. Is this clear till here? Then next we come to technology as a facilitator. What exactly do I mean by that? Now, technology in today's world, where we are talking so much about AI, right? Now, artificial intelligence has become, and artificial intelligence is not just about ChatGPT. AI is something which, for example, if I put like we recently ordered a microwave oven, right? So we wanted to kind of compare, because if you go to an Amazon or a Flipkart, you find so many models. It's very difficult to understand which is good. So we chose, I asked my sister, I asked my school friend. So they gave me what they have, and they gave a couple of recommendations. Then we put all those inputs, that please, these are my needs. Please compare this, and this model. And ChatGPT gave me an entire thing of these are the plus points, these are the minus points of each of the three models. So that makes your process a little easy. That's called using artificial intelligence in an intelligent and in an efficient manner. So technology is going to be a facilitator, means it is going to help you in many ways. It's going to be a crucial factor, because businesses will now, earlier everything used to be written down, right? What used to be called in Hindi the Bahi Khata. Now everything is written on your mobile phones or a computer, and it can be shared with 10 other people. So, you don't have to physically Xerox it and send it to somebody. No, everything can be done with a common network. You can ensure that they can also see what changes you're making. For example, the book that I'm writing, whatever changes I make in the manuscript, right? The editor and the proofreader can also see in real time, right? Once I press save, they can see it. So that means it makes it easier. I don't have to copy everything and then send it to them, then they download it and then see it. No, you're wasting time. But in real time, you can actually do that. So technology as a facilitator and a crucial factor that enables businesses to produce more goods with the same or fewer inputs. So what you need is that lesser number of people, but more efficiently. Earlier, when newspapers used to be published, and I know this because I worked in a newspaper, you used to physically go and adjust every word. You need to cut, paste, and put it like that, right? It used to be positive and negative. But once the computers came, you adjusted everything. Okay, this much space, 12 centimeter space is there. So these many words will get fit in this particular page. I can make it continued on page 5 and continue like that. But computers made it easier. Otherwise, earlier, you used to have people who would just do the job of adjusting. So once this came, these people became redundant. They did not have a job. So they had to upskill themselves in order to understand computers, learn computers, so that they can start doing this job, because this job has got lost. Okay, I hope you're understanding, because I'm giving you a lot of examples so that you're understanding about everything. All of this is very good. And economics is a subject you need to understand, because economics is about money. You need to understand and be more responsible about the use and the spending of money, right? So technology Enhances means increases the efficiency of all the four factors of production, which we just now studied, and makes the entire production process more productive and cost effective. Now you may say, how does technology affect the land? Of course it will. If you get the right kind of tractors in order to plow the land better, if you are able to demarcate your land in a more scientific manner, you get a machine which is able to kind of calculate how much of moisture is there in the land, how much of, whether it is, what kind of soil is this one, right? Whether it is having a lot of rocks, at which level you are able to hit water. Now you have sophisticated machinery, right? So that's all technology by which you can do that. Instead of physically trying to find out what kind of soil is there, at what depth the water will be there, you can actually do that with the help of technological aids, right? So that's how technology is used. Now, let's now get to the factors of production. Understanding the essential elements that drive economic production and create goods and services in our modern economy, right? That's essentially the factors of production. So the first one, now we will get into more detail. Now you are seeing this particular illustration of land on the right hand side of the page. You're seeing the river flowing, you're seeing the valleys, you're seeing the greenery, you're seeing the mountains, everything, right? So in economics, the word land, geography, the word land means something different, in the sense there you're talking about the quality of the soil, the water, the air, everything. But here the word land, it talks about geographical land and also the natural resources, the kind of wood that will be there. The kind of trees which will be there in the Himalayas will be very different from the trees which you will find in the Deccan Plateau. Examples of natural resources: soils, forests, water, air, sunlight, the minerals which are there, oil and natural gas, right? So these are all, they come under the combined category of natural resources. Okay, then businesses either purchase the required land or pay rent to use it over a period of time. So I may own the land, I may purchase it, I will say, okay, these many square yards I need, or these many acres I need, I will buy this entire land. But I don't have the money, then I will kind of pay rent, and I'll say, okay, I will use it for the next 3 years, right? And then I will grow crop on it and pay the requisite rent to the landlord, right? So that is as far as land is concerned. The second is labor, human resources. Okay, the labor which is essential for the entire production process, and that could be different kind of labor, right? For example, you want to get some woodwork done, you want to get some table or sofa or something assembled uh, in your at your home. So you would call who? You would not call a plumber, right? You would not call an electrician. You would call a carpenter who is skilled and who is trained. Now, when that something like that happens, you would have to provide him with wood. You would have to provide him with Fevicol. You would have to provide him with nails. You would have to provide him with the space where he needs to work, and he will create the furniture, right? Then the other kind of labor would be farmers, about who I was talking, who are agricultural workers who cultivate crops. It could be sugarcane, cotton, maize, jawar, bajra, whatever, right? And raise livestock, right? Livestock means sheep, cow, cattle, of different kinds. It could also be poultry. Then construction workers, in order to construct a building, that's another kind of labor. Teachers, now that's another kind of labor, because in a school you need the right kind of quality teachers, educators who would be good at a particular subject or a combination of subjects, and would be able to teach in a manner that would make it very easy for the students to understand, right? And also mentor students. Then there are doctors, medical professionals who provide health services. Then the examples include carpenters, farmers, construction workers, teachers, and doctors who use various levels of physical strength, knowledge, and skill. Everyone contributes differently through their work to create goods and services. For example, your fan is not working. You would call an electrician. Now that electrician may not be good enough. He may be good enough for repairing the tube light and the fan, but he's not a trained washing machine technician or an air conditioner technician. So for that, you need somebody who is specialized in the field of repairing an air conditioner or a washing machine. So that is what is required. You need to be very clear that this person has a skill to do this kind of job. A doctor cannot do a plumber's job, right? A plumber cannot do an electrician's job. An electrician cannot do a carpenter's job. A carpenter cannot do a mason's job. So everybody is specialized in being able to do a particular kind of job. Now, when we talk about people as a resource, when you say people as a resource, basically what happens is that human beings play a very key role by applying their knowledge. I am trained to do something, so I would be able to do this better than someone else who is not trained to do this kind of a job. I would be able to take more informed decisions that, okay, based on my experience, I have faced this kind of a situation before, so let's not do this. Or for example, if I have a junior with me, right, and I tell the person, no, if you go and do this, it will not get you the desired result. I have made that mistake before, so don't make the same mistake. Do it this way, you will be able to get what you are looking for. So that is what is called experience. That is what will help me mentor and train and educate a younger professional. A police officer, right? He has solved a murder case. Another similar murder case has come. So he would be able to guide his junior officer that, see, I have done this mistake. Don't make that mistake. Do it this way. You'll be able to get it. Ensure that you collect the forensic evidence. Ensure that you look for any kind of clues in the neighborhood, right? Check all the CCTV. So when you do that kind of thing on the basis of experience and skills, you'll be able to do that. Or a scientist. Now, again, scientists, an agricultural scientist cannot become an ISRO scientist, right? An ISRO scientist suddenly cannot become a forensic scientist, right? So everything is very, very specialized, and they also use technology and advanced knowledge, right? Chef, someone who works in a restaurant, in the kitchen, etc., developing and experimenting with new recipes. And culinary means to do with food innovation. That is, you say that, okay, I will make an Indian Italian kind of a dish, use Indian ingredients to make an Italian kind of thing. Like, for example, my wife makes pasta, but slightly Indian way, with a lot of masala, spices and all that, makes it very spicy. So Italian, the typical pasta, the way it is generally a little bland, right? But you can make it the Indian way with a lot of, spices and stuff like that. So that makes it more interesting. So a police officer maintains law and order, a scientist invents new technologies, and a chef develops new recipes, right? All of that requires a special set of knowledge and skills, and they must be very dedicated to their work. They should have the knowledge, they should have the skills, and be able to do something even better. So how do we define skill? Now, this is again important. It can come as a definition. And as I said, whenever you are asked a definition, ensure that you give a couple of examples. Even if it is a 1-mark question, it will make your answer, your teacher will be impressed with that, right? So it is the ability to do an activity or job well with practice and training. So PT is what you need to remember, that you are able to do this. You have practice, you also are trained to do that particular job. Now let's come to labor versus human capital. What exactly do we mean by that? Labor essentially refers to the physical and mental effort used in production, right? Labor could be a farmer working in the field. Labor could be a construction worker working on making a building, right? It could be a surgeon operating in the operation theater. Now that is again something which needs both physical, because he's standing for a long time. He's also using a lot of mental strength, all that he has learned during his years as a student. He's using that in order to save a life on the operating table, right? So this is also labor of a different kind, physical as well as mental effort. For example, now when I teach, it is the physical effort that I'm taking in order to speak continuously for a significant amount of time. It is also the mental effort of using all my experience, all my knowledge, all my years of having traveled around the world, been in different kind of professions. So my understanding is that much better. It's not within closed doors where, it's not bookish knowledge. That's why I don't teach from a book. I teach with the help of a lot of practical examples. Then the second thing is human capital. What's the difference between labor and human capital? Human capital refers to the specialized skills, knowledge, abilities, and expertise required to perform that labor. So human capital, now here capital does not mean paisa. Human capital means the skilled human being. That is, I am, like, for example, I am skilled in different kinds of things. I'm a skilled writer. I have been writing for the last 35 years. So I know something about writing. I know something about the craft of writing. I have written 4 books. So there is something which I know about that entire process, right? I am a documentary filmmaker. So I know something about filmmaking. I know how to place a camera, how to edit a particular film, how to kind of, plan an entire documentary of half an hour, right? So you know that. I know about teaching, my communication skills. I'm a public speaker, I'm a motivational speaker. So I know how to engage with different sets of people. It could be senior citizens, it could be adults, it could be young children, right? So basically what I mean to say is that I have the knowledge, I have the ability, I have the expertise, means experience, and I have the skill in order to be able to do a good job. Now, tomorrow, if you tell me, go and construct this building, or tell me to plan a building, I can't do that. That's a job of an architect, right? So I have a friend called Srinivas Murthy, who's an architect. Now, he will be able to look at a building and say, okay, these are the things which we could do in this building. We could have a balcony coming there. We could have a open air kind of a sit out there. He would be able to plan it better. I can just give vague suggestions, but he is the trained kind of person who would be able to say that, okay, here you will get light till about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So this area is better, So that's what is called a specialized skill. That is what is called human capital. Labor is the person who would then actually execute that and build that particular balcony in order to ensure that that construction work is done. That is called labor. And that person will know how many bricks to use, how much cement to use, etc. Okay, I hope you are able to understand the difference between labor and human capital. There's a slight overlap, but there's a big difference is of expertise, abilities, knowledge, and skills. Okay, here it is much more of a physical and mental effort that is taken. A surgeon is also human capital. Surgeon is not just labor. Yes, he's taking the mental and physical effort to perform a surgery, but he's much more of a human capital, because can I go and perform an open heart surgery? No way. The patient will be at risk if I do that, because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a surgeon. Similarly, if someone is an eye surgeon and suddenly you say, your doctor, no, come and treat my dog, can he do that? No, he's not a veterinarian, so he will not know how to do that kind of a job, right? So it is talking about specialized expertise and skills and knowledge. Clear? So labor refers to the physical and mental effort required in production. Human capital refers to the specialized skills, knowledge, abilities, and expertise. Human capital represents the quality and the efficiency of labor besides just basic effort. Like, you employ 10 people who would just go, for example, there is something called people called hamalis. Their job is to essentially lift heavy loads, 20 kg bag, they would be able to lift and take it from place A to place B. Now, does it need any kind of expertise? Actually, no. It just needs physical strength, right? He's not using his mind in any way. He just needs to know the right way of lifting that heavy 20 kg bag of cement or rice or wheat or whatever, right? But if I have to plan the structure in such a way that it makes it easy for the hamalis to travel from place A to place B, I build some kind of a bridge, some kind of an inclined plane. Now that would need some kind of a specialized skill as a civil engineer or an architect, right? I'm able to make the bridge in such a way that it reduces the load on the backs of these hamalis, right? That is where human capital comes. The first one is basic labor. Is this clear? Then obviously next to this, connected to this, is education and training. Now, education helps individuals gain knowledge from basic literacy to expertise in specific fields. That is, you get specialized, you understand that particular subject in a much more deep manner because you're getting knowledge, right? Schooling, when you go to school, you get knowledge, you learn about different things. You come and listen to a video like this, you learn different things because of the examples that I'm providing you with. And therefore, it prepares individuals to solve real world problems, right? Okay, I learned this in school. So in a science experiment in physics, so I should be able to solve this kind of a problem. So you are able to use this knowledge that you gained wherever in the physics laboratory or at school, and you are able to use this to solve a real world problem. For example, a civil engineering student in college, he learns design principles and materials, and he applies them to infrastructure like how to construct a road. For example, during the rainy season, you find a lot of water getting collected and stagnating, right? So if you are a civil engineer, what you could do, you have learned some practices at college, in college. So you say that, okay, what we can do is to build a small channel which will allow the water to pass and not get collected on the main road, right? So if you create some kind of a channel wherein the water, when it comes, it moves into a separate channel and does not inundate the entire road. That requires some skill because he has learned it in his civil engineering class. So it focuses on durability. Durability means something which lasts longer, cost efficiency, and eco-friendly solutions, right? You use solutions, you don't put steel and everything. You use natural resources in order to find a solution. Then you're talking about training as well. You go, that's why people do internships. You go to an actual office. For example, I say I am interested in law. So I say that, okay, you go and intern with this particular lawyer for a month, right? So for 30 days, I go and spend time at this lawyer's office. He gives me documents to study. So I go through legal documents. Then he says, okay, from this document of 50 pages, you write 10 points, which are the most important, which I can present in court. So you go through the entire thing, understand it, and then kind of summarize it in 10 points. And you give it to the lawyer and say that, is this okay? He will say, these 5 points are okay. These 5 points are not good enough. So you again come back and revise it. So the more times you do that, you understand. Your understanding of that particular case. And tomorrow, if you get a similar case, you can say, I did that. So we can draw parallels. So that is what is called training. So it trains, it prepares individuals to excel in their careers. You understand, you test material, hands-on application. You actually do the work, which is why it is called internships, that you intern at a proper office. You're not an employee, but you're interning in order to gain experience. For example, my daughter, when she was in engineering college, in third year of engineering college, she went to a startup, which was a healthcare startup, right? At this healthcare startup, the boss gave her a tough assignment, which had been tried to be solved, to develop a particular app, which had been tried before by others, had not succeeded. But in the 2 months that she was there, she actually managed to crack it. And even today, the doctors use that particular app when they are treating their patients. So that is extremely satisfying, right? So if you are able to do something like that, now she was not an employee, but that experience of 2 months and being able to do something successfully helped her. So whenever she now goes for interviews or anything related to medicine, she's able to cite that example, that that's something which I did. These were the problems that I faced. This is how I overcame those problems. This is how it is being used by doctors across the country, right? So that is what is training all about. So if you have to listen to understand the definition of training, it is the process of learning the required skills to do a particular job or activity. Now, let's now move to healthcare. I just now mentioned about healthcare and social influences. So healthcare benefits means, so good health supports cognitive. Cognitive is to do something with the mind, being able to express, etc. Development, allowing children to attend school regularly and learn better. So if you are in good health, you will be able to do that, go to school, you don't fall ill regularly often, and you are able to attend school regularly. And the more you attend school, the more knowledge you will gain. Healthy workers give their best physically and mentally, are more productive, creative, and have fewer absence due to it. Because if you have a factory, there are 10 workers in a factory, of which 3 people are all the time falling sick for some reason or the other, right? They could be living in a place where there are a lot of mosquitoes, so somebody or the other is always falling ill because of dengue or malaria, right? Or chikungunya or whatever, right? So when it happens like that, the 3 people keep on falling ill. So the burden of finishing the work falls on the other 7 people. So the other 7 people, instead of doing their work, they will have to do the work of these three people also. So they'll have to work overtime, etc. Right? So it's always important to take care of the health of your workers so that your productivity, your work efficiency becomes that much better. Then we come to infrastructure and healthcare systems. You have hospitals, you have dispensaries, you have primary healthcare centers, you have doctors, you have paramedics, you have nurses, you have pharmacy chemist shops, you have diagnostic labs. All that form the entire medical ecosystem, right? Then we come to cultural influences. Cultural influences means where there is a culture of hard work. There will be some organizations where nobody works, they're all the time having fun. You go at 4:30 in the evening, they would have already gone home. 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, everybody will stop work saying lunchtime, baad mein aana kind of a thing. Okay, so that is not a good culture. A good culture is where people work efficiently for those 8 to 9 hours, right? And they continuously keep improving whatever product they are working on. And they say, we need to be number one, we need to be excellent. And that's how countries become progressive and better than any other country. Like, what's the difference between India and Pakistan, right? India is now one of the leading economies of the world. Pakistan is not so. Both the countries became independent at the same time. Yet Pakistan has fallen behind because the culture, the work culture of the right kind is not there, whereas in India it is there. Whereas if you go to a Japan, you will find that their work culture is even better than India. So we need to be like Japan. Japan, on which a atomic bomb was dropped in 1945, but in 80 years they have moved from so much to so much, right? That's what we need to be like. So the Japanese concept of Kaizen means continuous improvement, applied since the mid 1940s, because 1945 August 6th and 9th of August, the two atom bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and it completely devastated Japan. And because of this concept of Kaizen, which means continuous improvement, that has helped Japan achieve higher standards of living. For example, look at brands like Sony, right? Look at brands like Suzuki, which have all come from Japan. Look at a country like Korea, South Korea, where you have, brands like Samsung coming out of that. So you just need to be, working towards excellence. Even you as a student, think of yourself as a brand. I am a brand. I am going to develop and improve myself. Don't look at yourself just as roll number 24. No, you are a brand and I will develop myself. It does not matter. 8th class, this is the right age to learn and soak in everything. Don't ever settle for mediocrity. Please remember that. The other great country which does this is Germany. Very hardworking people. Again, a country which lost everything in 1945 because of the policies that Adolf Hitler adopted. So, deeply rooted in history, they value punctuality. 9 a.m. means 9 a.m., right? It does not mean 9:10 a.m. Attention to detail, quality, contributing to Germany's rise as a global leader in technology and manufacturing. You have the big cars coming out of Germany, right? They are the world leader there. There are so many institutions. In fact, now Germany, because of whatever is happening in the USA and the rest of Europe, Germany is saying, come and study in Germany. We will welcome you with open arms, Indian students. So all you need to do is to learn German, and you can actually pursue higher degree courses in Germany, which again is of great quality. See, so far, always Indian students used to prefer America and UK because the same language is spoken there, English, so you can go there. But now the challenge is, since we are facing challenging times there, we can always look at countries like Japan and Germany. Cognitive, it refers to the process of learning, knowing, and understanding. This is another definition. Next, let's come to the challenges which face human capital in India. And this is again very important. Do you know how much was the literacy rate when India became independent in 1947? I mean, we have to look at the 1941 census. And according to the 1941 census, the male literacy, which is now 85%, was roughly approximately 20%. The female literacy in 1947, according to the 1941 census, was approximately 8%. So from 8, we have gone to 70%. From 20, we have gone to 85%. We should go more. If Kerala can achieve 100% literacy, why can't the rest of India do? It shows that 3 out of 10 women are still illiterate in the country. between 1 and 2 of every 10 men are illiterate in this country. So literacy is a very, very important characteristics, because unless you are literate, you cannot improve your skills. Unless you are literate, you cannot increase your productivity. Even a mason, even a plumber needs to know the basic physics, right? Of how the water goes, what kind of different implements will be able to do what with water. So he needs to have that understanding. He needs to be literate. अनपढ़ होने से काम नहीं चलेगा. So despite all the progress that we have made, we need to work towards making India 100% literate country. So here the challenge is also of adult literacy rate. So percentage of people aged 15 and above who can read and write with an understanding of short, simple statement about their everyday life. But adult literacy, because many of our older people have not gone to school, right? So they also need to be educated and made literate. What is productivity? The ability to do more in a particular time period. All these definitions you need to know with examples. Then we come to India's demographic dividend. Now, there is something called the Economic Survey of India, which is released every year, one day before the budget is presented on the 1st of February. So on the 31st of January every year, there is an economic survey which is released. So according to the Economic Survey of India of 2024, 65% of people in India are below 35 years. Now, this is an extremely important statistic, that India is a young country. 65% are below 35 years. So their productivity will be maximum, right? It's a young productive population. And this can be extremely advantageous. So demographic dividend, what does it mean? Dividend means something which you get as a reward. So it refers to the benefit a country gets when it has a large number of young and working people. So when you have a younger population, you can do more. If you have an older population will have medical problems, will be more tired. So it will not be able to do much better. So demographic dividend means when you have a younger population and they are able to do much more. In India, what is now also happening because of medical advancements, while we have a younger population, we are also having a significant older population, because earlier people used to live to the age of, let's say, 70 kind of thing. But now people live till the age of 85, 90 also, right? So the senior citizen population is also increasing because of medical advancement. So that is also something which we need to be mindful of. So then the 65% will come down a little, because that side percentage will also keep on increasing. So when more people are working and earning money and fewer people depend on them, the country can grow businesses and improve living standards, because now people are having smaller families, one child or two children. Earlier, your grandfather generation, etc., maybe having 3 children, 4 children, etc., right? So smaller families means lesser people to feed, so you can save more money and your quality of life improves as a result. All this is the advantage of demographic dividend. If you have one child or 2 children, then you can educate them better. Whereas if you have 5 children, you will need to divide it between those 5 people, among those 5 children. But if you are having only one child or 2 children, then you can give more to those 2 children. So individuals need access to quality education, health, training, and skilling. Then let's come to India's ancient skill heritage. Now, for ancient Indians, that is people who lived many years ago, work meant an expression of nature, is striving for perfection and an offering to a deity or receiver. Like, we say, there is this idiom, work is worship. Okay, that is, when you do work, it means you're worshiping, and I strongly believe in that. It's even if you don't go to a temple or a mosque or a gurudwara or a church every day, if you are the kind who is actually being very honest about doing your work, that means you are being totally devoted to what you are doing. So for Indians, work was seen as an expression of nature. That is, you worship nature, you do things the right way, you don't pollute nature, you do it perfectly, and that is like an offering to God. Tools were worship. Like, for example, a day before Dashera, you do something called the Ayudha Puja. Ayudha Puja means, for example, if you are, let's say, a carpenter, you would worship all your tools. If you are a teacher, you will worship your books. If you are a singer, you will worship all your musical instruments like a tabla or a sitar or a veena or a flute or a violin or a guitar, whatever, right? So you will worship what you is so important to you in your life. So your tools were worship, a tradition that continues as Vishwakarma or Ayudha Puja today. Product creation involved a unique blend of kala, that is the art, the training, and the knowledge, right? Knowledge was passed down through generations and continuously built upon. For example, if I am a big musician, I will train my child also to sing, because I will think that, okay, he will also have a naturally, because the same genes have passed through. So he or she will also be able to sing. So that is, the knowledge is passed from generation to generation. Or if I'm a cricketer, I will see if my son or daughter also likes to play cricket, I will train them in playing cricket as well. Then who are Shilpa Shastras? What are Shilpa Shastras? They are ancient texts containing detailed design guidelines for sculptures, paintings, buildings, wooden items, and jewelry. Texts on sculpture prescribe exact specification for postures, colors, measurements, and proportions of figures. So Shilpa Shastras means how do you make this kind of figures on a building, on a wall, paintings, etc. Right? So there are Shastras, means there are actual booklets, manuscripts which tell you exactly how it is to be done. What is stitched shipbuilding? Now, India used, and there is a photograph of this in your textbook. Please have a look at it. You on the right hand side page, Indians used a very unique stitching technique for over 2000 years to make ships and boats. These were used for maritime. Maritime means anything to do with the ocean and the seas, trade and cultural exchanges across the Indian Ocean. What did this technique involve? What did this stitching technique mean? It involves stitching wooden planks. Wooden planks means with the wood kind of, long planks. You stitch it together with cords instead of nails. You don't use nails, you use cords. Okay. And that made the ship flexible, because the cord will be a flexible, whereas nail would fix something very tight, right? It will not allow you to move. But the cord will allow you to, because it's some kind of fabric, it will allow that kind of an elasticity, right? And that will make it easy for them to pass the Indian Ocean. And this shipbuilding technique saw a severe decline after Europeans arrived in the Indian Ocean in the 16th century, and now is used mainly for small fishing boats. So this is something which was there used in the past, and it kind of went down in the 16th century. Then generations of sculptors. Now, various sculptors, families of them, like for example, people who make these big statues of Mahatma Gandhi or B.R. Ambedkar or Jawaharlal Nehru, etc. Families of sculptors worked on India's temples also for centuries. If you go and see the Bradeshwara temple in Tanjavur, marvelous piece of architecture, right? Using skills without expecting to see the finished outcome. Or you see the Taj Mahal. They pursued excellence, considering work as worship through regular practice and learning new techniques. So these were sculptors like Taj Mahal. If you see this, they say that about 22,000 people worked on it, and see what a unique workmanship it is, and it is there standing tall even to this day. So what I'm going to do is to pause video number 1 here. In the second video, we will start with capital and understand the remaining part of the chapter. We will read about things like corporate social responsibility. It will be very fascinating, and I can tell you that this chapter will teach you a lot of things. So I'll see you now in video number 2. Tata, bye bye, namaskar.